Hello dear students, let us continue our journey. Today we are going to study the module 24 of unit 2, and here we are going to talk about outsourcing and the multinational corporations. As you know, multinational corporations are those enterprises which operates and have businesses in more than one countries. Now, one of the most important aspect of trade initially was the trade of goods between countries. It was to deal with the producer to consumer relationship. However, with the progress of time, the idea of trade changed also to the trade in services and trade between industries. That is, one industry purchasing from another industry. So this trade in parts and components gave rise to outsourcing and offshoring, and this was the new source for economies of scale for the industry. Now note, when a country is producing a good, it may also can get those resources from another country at a cheaper rate. We can just have one example. Suppose India tries to produce mobile phone all of its own, but the production of mobile phone requires some components, the production of which may be costlier for that in India. For example, if India decides to produce the batteries or the chips required to produce the mobile phone. However, a country, say China, which already has expertise in production of this particular component, may be able to provide this at a cheaper rate. This would then make possible for India to produce and supply mobile phone at a cheaper price to its customers and thereby have a better market reach. This is the idea behind outsourcing, where a particular firm may take the benefit from the other firms not necessarily located in its own country in order to optimize their production. Mind you, the main aim of any particular enterprise is profit maximization, and this can be done by outsourcing if you are getting it at a cheaper rate from other countries. So, keeping this in mind, we are going to discuss today the idea of outsourcing which are done by multinational corporation. In simple terms, refers to the purchase of a firm of different components from its other companies within the country or from abroad. Whereas the term offshoring indicates where a particular firm opens its business in some other country by directly producing in that particular country. Now note that this outsourcing or offshoring leads to expansion of market, reduction in cost and economies of scale for these industries. Over time, there have been some questions raised regarding this outsourcing because this may lead to transfer of high-paying job from one country to another. We can just remember one simple example where most of the jobs from Americas came to India after India opened its economy in terms of the call centers, where America found cheaper employees to do these mundane works in India at a lesser cost than that they had to pay in US, while both India as well as US gained by reduction in cost for US and income for India. The people who lost jobs in US were the one to suffer. So keeping this in mind, these ideologies, we start our journey. The word outsourcing can be considered as a combination of two words, outsourced, outside, and resourcing, which means paying to another company. It can be a freelancer, a business, it can be an individual to get the work or a part of work done. This work may include maybe business processes like payrolls, claim settlements, etc. It can be operational tasks, which can be like assembling or distributing, or it can be a non-core functions like say legal activities or like recruitment or like call support. So this all may depend upon the nature of the business. In case of outsourcing, a particular firm delegates a part or a whole of the job to another firm. The firm may be within the country or outside the country. For example, a particular multinational company may outsource the cleaning job to another company. If we consider some examples from India, if we travel in the Indian Railways, we observe that the food is provided by say IRCTC. Though railway is directly under the control of the Indian government, the food distribution is outsourced to IRCTC to provide food to the people. Now, another example from our daily life is that of Amazon and Flipkart delivery. Although Amazon and Flipkart are not producing the product, they are directly helping us to link with the seller, where the seller and the buyer can be linked by their delivery services. Now, what are the different kinds of outsourcing is our matter of concern. There are different forms in which outsourcing may be done in a particular country. The first one is called the professional outsourcing. In case of professional outsourcing, a particular enterprise, say a firm or a business, may take professional help from other enterprise who are professionally working on that particular field. Services like accounting services, legal services, purchasing, information technology, digital marketing, or administrative support are different kind of special services which are professional in nature can be gained. Now note, the benefit of this is that the enterprise only pays for the amount of services it hires from the expert. The quality of the resources will also be high, and this reduces the overall overhead cost significantly. Now, with professional outsourcing, one can access wide range of services, and for that you have to pay only what you need. This helps us in scaling up a business and reducing the cost for better services. For example, say a particular startup is setting up a business. Now, instead of having an entire legal team for itself, it can just hire a professional legal team which may help us set up the startup business and may not be required in that extension in future. The second one is the IT outsourcing. More or less, all the industries in modern era have a link with information technology. So they may actually hire up an enterprise who are expert in providing IT services. Let's take an example of say data keeping or say an app development. Suppose there's a grocery enterprise which produces and sells agricultural commodities. However, they may not have the technical expertise or team to develop an app which can help sell their product in this modern era. So what they may do is this company may contact an expert IT company for an app development which can help the company to advertise its product and help consumer to buy its product online. So this is an example of an IT outsourcing where an enterprise outsources its information technology related requirements to an expert company. This IT company may also store data, manage data, and also deal with all other IT requirements of the particular company. Another example of this can be those companies which develop softwares for admissions and marks calculations for a particular college and university of yours, where your college or university may outsource this work to a particular company which developed these softwares as and when required. The third type of outsourcing is the manufacturing outsourcing. This is a very interesting and important part of business in the modern era. And this manufacturing outsourcing is usually industry specific. For example, let's consider an automobile industry. Suppose country X is producing automobile, but the engine for the automobile is better produced in country say Y. In that case, country X may take help from country Y in procuring the engines. Similarly, country Z may be producing the headlights better. In this case, country X may outsource the requirement of engines or the headlights to this country Y or country Z respectively. However, there is a quality concern in this case, where the other country may not meet up to the quality requirement or expectation of that of country X. However, in modern era, the third party companies may help these businesses to bridge those gaps which this particular company may face in its own country and help them produce product which may be competitive in the market as whole. Another very important types of outsourcing is the process outsourcing. This is very common in today's generation. Let's take an example of a food delivery restaurant. Now, the food delivery restaurant were earlier limited to the local customers. Now, with the advent of services from Zomato and Swiggy, this has helped the restaurants to reach consumers at a further distance. So here, these restaurants are some way delivering their process of delivery to these delivery services like Zomato and Swiggy, and thereby gaining the market. This can also help in delivery timelines or projects at different points. Now, process outsourcing is described as the practice of handing over the control of a particular work to a other enterprise. Now, the process-specific outsourcing are of four main types. One is known as the knowledge process outsourcing or the KPOs. In case of KPOs, there is an enterprise which helps in collecting informations, reliable data, and providing you informations by which you can improve your product and services. There are advanced data analysis enterprises which helps you through your consumer data or production data to grow your business. The second type is called the legal process outsourcing or the LPOs. The LPOs helps in providing the regulatory compliances, help the enterprise deal with litigations and other legal requirements. The third is the requirement process outsourcing. Most of the companies, in order to hire or recruit its employee, depend upon this modern system of requirement process outsourcing, where a particular expert company is hired to deal with the recruitment process. If you take example of India, one famous is that of IBPS, where IBPS helps in conducting various examination for recruitments, and it frees the mother enterprise from the headaches of recruitments of its employees. The fourth important is the business process outsourcing or the BPOs. The BPOs are one of the most common types of process outsourcing, where an enterprise may transfer the mundane work to another enterprise. One such example can be a customer support services. In case of America, where the work of call center representation was outsourced to India in order to deal with the customer support, which was cheaper in Indian countries. Next is the project outsourcing. Project outsourcing means to outsource a part or whole of a project of an enterprise. Some simple examples may be like web page designing or marketing strategizing, or even in case, say for example, a movie where animation or the VFX is done by some other enterprises. Now, next is operational outsourcing. Operational outsourcing indicates where a particular firm outsources works like that of after-sales services, etc. Now, the type of outsourcing may also be in forms of strategies. Now, where do we outsource? Do we outsource in local market, or do we outsource in nearby countries or a far off country is also strategic decision. The first is the local outsourcing, where we are contracting the enterprises within our country. One of the best advantages of this is there is same language, same time zone, cultural significance are same. However, the problem may be we may not have enough expertise in the same country. The second is offshore outsourcing. Offshore outsourcing, by word itself, it indicates where you are outsourcing the work to a far off country. One of the best example is that of US outsourcing job to India. Now, this may help the company to get product or labor service at a very cheap rate, so it may be cost effective. However, there may be some problems like that of difference of time zones, language and cultural barriers, which may reduce the outcome or efficiency of the product. Distance also may be a big issue. This may lead to communication barriers. Next is nearshore outsourcing. Nearshore outsourcing is between the local outsourcing and far offshore outsourcing, which indicates where the business is done with enterprises in countries which are nearby. For example, say India outsourcing to China. Now, there are some advantages, like you may get product at a cheaper rate compared to your own country, and there may not be much difference between time zones, and communication barrier may not be that difficult. Also, there may not be much transport cost as compared to that of far offshore enterprises. So, the possibility of risk is also lesser in a nearshore outsourcing. The next table helps us to easily understand the advantages and disadvantages of each kind of strategy of outsourcing. If you look at the table, the minus in red indicates disadvantages, whereas plus in green indicates the advantages. So for the first one, say cost efficiency, local market may not be cost efficient, nearshore market may be cost efficient, and offshore will be cost efficient. Else it will not be economical viable to go for it. From the table what we see that nearshore fulfills all the criteria, whereas some disadvantages may be present in offshore as well as in the local market. Now, why would a company outsource its work? One, it can lead to growth opportunity. Say for example, a particular enterprise is limited by the space of the office. So what it can do, it may outsource the work and may not need to rent another apartment or building. If the process is temporary, there may not be required to have a permanent structure to reduce the high cost. Suppose if I am to do it my own self, the cost of production may be more than what can be outsourced of. Further, so others may be more experienced and knowledgeable than us. So outsourcing the work may help get a better result, and more importantly, I may have more time available for better focusing on my work. A simple example of it can be understood by that of say a marriage or another ceremonies that may happen at a home, where people usually outsource decorations, fooding, etc. to expert, and they rather focus on enjoying the marriages, where rest of the work is taken care of by the caterers, decorators, etc. who are expert in that service. Had I done it my own self, the cost had been more, both in monetary terms as well as the opportunity cost of sacrificing the enjoyment. Now, what are the advantages of outsourcing? First, it reduces my cost. Second, I have better focus on the work that I am to do it myself. There's a possibility of increase in efficiency because experts are doing in it and I am getting more time to focus on my work. Fourth, there's a possibility of better innovations where my work is being looked after by experts. Risk is shared now between both the enterprises and this targeted effort where the work has been given to experts to deal with. But there are disadvantages. One, as soon as I outsource the job, there is lack of control on it. The work will now be directed partially by other brains. There may be communication error which may arise due to language, cultural and time zone barriers. There is also security risk. When I am allowing other country or other people to get my information, there may be breach of trust. And finally, there is financial risk. Although I may have entered into a contract with an aim to reduction in cost of production, due to some reasons, the cost may actually go up and I may end up at some kind of financial risk. Now, the table here helps us differentiate between outsourcing and insourcing. Outsourcing is when I give the job to somebody else to help me out, whereas insourcing is one where I focus in doing it my own self rather than outsourcing it to other. So the benefit of outsourcing will be there is more efficiency, there is lower cost, there is more innovations and better focuses on other activities as we discussed earlier. However, insourcing gives us more control. There is better communication with people of similar language and similar time zones. There is more opportunities to explore the difficulties and solve it my own self. And the security risk is minimized. However, the limitations of outsourcing is there is less control, there is a communication problem, and there is a risk of security. But in that of insourcing, obviously, there is a possibility of inefficiency, higher cost, less innovation, and divided focus. Look at some case studies. The first case studies is that of giants. Let's take into example that of Apple. Apple, a large conglomerate of USA, outsource a part of its works to China, Korea, Mongolia, Taiwan, etc. For example, they save their time and money by purchasing DRAM from Samsung, assembling their product in China and Korea, etc. Similarly, that of WhatsApp, where WhatsApp founders in the earlier stage had taken the help of Mr. Igor for developing their app. We can take a very important example of call center which we discussed earlier. In late 1990s and earlier 2000s, majority of jobs from Western countries of call center types were transferred to India, etc. However, there were problems where the English of the natives were not clear, so this hampered later. The third example is that of a study which was focused by Dominic Salvatore's book, is India's globalization harming United States? It was observed that most of the important enterprises of USA were hiring Indians in large scale by outsourcing the job. In the table below, we can see important companies like Accenture, IBM and Citigroup have almost 19%, 15% and 7% of people working in India of the total global workforce. So this, while outsourcing may help enterprise by reducing cost and increase efficiency, it may transfer the jobs of that country to another country and thereby harming the employment in that country. Thank you, dear students.